Hey boys, what's up my dudes? We're doing a little comparison here today between Supercross 4 and Supercross 5. This is my first time going back in here and playing Supercross 4 since Supercross 5 came out. So it's going to be an interesting direct look into, okay, wait a minute, that was actually better or worse in Supercross 4 than it is 5, right? It's almost like you got to have that direct comparison to really, I think this may be a bit of a deeper review and may explain some more things with Supercross 5 that some of you might not have fully realized yet, okay? So let's kind of see here. Let me get back into this. Let me turn off the ghost there already. Oh boy, this is bizarre. Okay. All right. Okay, let me see what we got going on here, boys. Oh, I know a lot of people kind of do these videos after like a new milestone game comes out, right? Obviously, it's a typical thing to do. Review the previous one compared to the newest one type situation, right? Let me pull the HUD up, too. Good Lord, Spency boy, get your act together, boy. Let me get all this HUD back on so we can kind of just get a full look at everything here. We don't need tear-offs or rewind, brother. Okay. And I'm going to try to... oh, shit, I don't want action... I don't want all those action and maneuvers on here. Hang on. Hold the phone. Alrighty, Spency boy. Alrighty, buddy. Okay. Whoa, that is fucking weird-looking HUD. What the fuck? Has the HUD always been like this on Supercross 4? Where it like... That is weird. That is weird. It's like tricking my eyes. Both of the things at the bottom of the screen here are... tricking my eyes in a sense because they're kind of like on Supercross 5, the HUD's just more clean in my opinion than this. Shit, sorry guys, I'm looking at the damn HUD here. Boy, that is weird. Okay, I can already tell you right off the bat I prefer the HUD of Supercross 5 more than 4. Okay, so I'm going to try to race on similar tracks in both of the games just so we can get a little bit of a closer look at it here. So I think one of the biggest things everybody cares about is obviously physics. You know, how are the physics different from 4 to 5? And the thing I would say about that is it does seem as if there is certainly more of a freer, looser, inertia-based physics system to 5 than 4 has here. That's about the best way I know how to explain it, right? Obviously with physics, there's a lot of different, things that can change the way somebody perceives a physics system in one of these games or the way they think about it, right? But, yeah, that's definitely right off the bat. Doesn't feel like I'm turning quite as sharp as I am in Supercross 5. Like I say, everything feels looser in Supercross 5 than it does here in 4. I can already tell you right now, I prefer the physics of 5 over 4. No question about it. Like, I have no question about that now that I went back in here to 4. Absolutely zero question about that. I think the physics are just better in 5 than they are 4, which is expected. Funny how nowadays, like, we got to super praise a motocross game when it makes the physics better in a newer game, but that is kind of what you expect, in the same token. It's like, well, yeah, I would hope the physics would be better in the next one. This has more of that sort of, like I say, that restriction-y kind of... It's almost as if you can't even move the bike enough to really get out of shape as much as you would think. There's definitely not as much. No part of the animation of this game feels as fast as the animations and just that overall movement of Supercross 5. Everything about it feels a little bit more faster, quicker, looser. A little bit more like this kind of feels more like you're riding like a tank around the track a little bit, you know, almost like you don't have like I would compare it in the sense of, if you remember some of the older MX versus ATV games, it's almost like, or even just like Alive or whatever, you know, it's almost as if this is like Supercross 5's physics, but without the fully upgraded chassis or something like that. You know, that's kind of how I would explain it. I think that was Alive that first introduced the chassis upgrades, and you guys know how that was, where if you didn't have the chassis upgrades, it basically just limited the entire physics system and made you feel like you were, you know, riding around a tank around the track that just didn't move freely and properly enough. And now that they went to the extent of Supercross 5's looseness, when you go back to 4, it's kind of hard to even play this game. I'm just keeping it 100 with you. It's kind of like, holy shit, I don't even want to play this game compared to 5. That's how much better I feel like 5 really is than this. I do not understand some of you that are saying this is just exactly like Supercross 5, or this is exactly like Supercross 5 is just an exact copy and paste of the physics of 4. No, it's not. No. I mean, you can say with any milestone game, you can say one to the next is similar. I mean, you can say that with fucking any of them, like MXGP 1 to 2, Supercross 1 to 2, however the hell, MXGP Pro to 2020 or 2019 or whatever the fuck, 2069. I lose track of all the games at this point with how many Milestone has made, but let's go back in here to Supercross 5, kind of compare this gameplay here. Okay, so here we are in Supercross 5. First of all, take a look at the HUD. Notice how the map and the rev, what the hell do they call that? Fucking rev shit, Spency boy. What do they call that? I don't know why I can't think of that. My 420 brain is on another level, dude. Rev counter. Okay, rev counter. Okay. But you can see how this one, it's not like stretched out to the edge of the screen. You notice that? You remember that on what we was just playing on? If you have to rewind the video, do it. But on 4, the mini-map kind of like has this deal where it's like connected to the edge of the screen. So instead of just that circle of the mini-map, it's like got that part to the left of it that sort of connects it to the edge of the screen. And it's the same way at the rev counter. It kind of connects it to the edge of the screen on both sides, right? The mini-map's connected to the screen on the left. The rev counter's connected to the screen on the right. Connected to the edge of the screen, right? And that, to me, kind of distracts my eyes a little bit more. Kind of, it's like, what the fuck am I looking at? This is so much better. Oh, my God. Like, now that I sit here and really compare the both of these things, it's so much better. The graphics, interestingly enough, it's on, and by the way, I think I have both these games set up on like the default high graphical setting. We don't have anything crazy set up here graphic. I don't have it on like super low or super ultra or you know, some little special graphical thing. These are both on default high right here. And on the PC version, okay, that's another thing I guess I need to mention. The PC version is what we're comparing here, okay? But yeah, as far as the physics, I feel like this is literally Supercross 4, but just better in every way. That is literally what I feel with the physics right now, boys. Man, that is something else, dude. The leaning forward and backwards just feels more fluent and flowy. You know, it doesn't feel as much like you're riding a damn tank around. That's the only way I know how to explain it. Like you're riding around this big, bulky, you know, this is more like, holy shit, like I've got the upgraded chassis. I'm on a factory bike, you know, or something like that. The feel of it gives you that feeling like it's that looseness of it, you know? It feels like all of a sudden, like, holy shit, I'm playing with a factory fully upgraded chassis, and compared to the way Supercross 4 feels like you're riding with this clunky, heavy, not as fluent, not as flowing, like unupgraded chassis on a live kind of feel. That's the best way I can compare the two as far as physics feel, you know? That is the best way I can describe it. But yeah, as far as graphically, it just doesn't seem like there's as much like lighting effects on Supercross 5 as there was on 4. I'm a little caught off guard by that. Like, I could definitely see where people would think just the raw graphics are better in 4 than they are in 5. It's as if 5 doesn't really seem to have hardly any lighting effects, at least not on this track right here. There may be some of them that are somewhat different, but yeah, and whenever I explain the physics of it, you know, just to keep everything clear here for some of you, I've got obviously all of the handicap bullshit turned off in both of the games. It's the full advanced physics system, no handicapped, none of those little weird, you know, help you out handicap kind of settings to it, right? So it's the same across the board in both of the games with everything. The graphics settings, the control settings, everything. So it truly is a direct comparison. Oh my God, man. When you go back to Supercross 4, it's almost like you can't even handle the HUD. It's pretty crazy, bro. But yeah, you should be able to tell the difference in speed. I mean, this Supercross 4 is certainly faster. It's a faster feeling to the game. Feels like the bike is just straight up accelerating faster than it does in 5. And that particular element to the physics can give it a little bit more of an exciting kind of feeling, like, woo, I'm hauling ass. You know, whereas Supercross 5 can at times give you a bit more of a, man, this is kind of sluggish and slow. That's what I mean by that's the two things I can't really understand what Milestone was doing with Supercross 5's physics. Like, I don't know why they made it slower, and I don't know why they made it less of a pop-off system. But those are the two things that I feel like were better with the physics of Supercross 4 than 5, if you even really want to call those physics things. I don't know. And those are kind of different than just like straight up physics. That's why I was saying before, I think all of the movement part of the physics, all of that I feel like is just straight up better in 5 than 4. But when it comes to speed of the game and like popping off, I feel like that part of 4 was better than 5. It's almost like if you could get the speed feel of 4 and the pop-off system of 4 into the movement of Supercross 5, it would have been kind of the best of both worlds, I feel like. But yeah, boy, there really wasn't a whole lot of pre-made ruts or really any kind of ruts on the Daytona of 4 either. But I just feel like this, I don't know, something about this Daytona on 4 just feels more fun to me than the Daytona on 5. So yeah. Plus, I just think it kind of looks a little bit better here on 4 than 5. So, but yeah, I think the AI are quite a bit different in both of the games. I think they're a lot more difficult on 5 than any other Supercross game. I think Milestone kind of ramped up that AI. I don't know if that was a bug at first or what the deal was with that, but there's a bit of an inside rut there, bit of an inside rut line there on this Daytona of 4. But yeah, definitely let me know down in the comments the differences you guys have kind of experienced going directly from 4 to 5. I would certainly like to take a little look at that, but yeah, I mean, overall, it's just, I think it's less bike reaction in 4. Like I say, the bike kind of rides itself for you a little bit more in 4, and 5 sort of opens up that looseness to the physics to where I feel like 5 is more about how you're actually leaning on the bike, and it's more about how you're actually maneuvering the bike, whereas 4 is more like you're making a lot smaller of movements, it seems, because it's like it's not going to make as much of a reaction on the bike if you moved any more, you know? Even if I move crazy on the bike in this game, you can see, like, even if I lean, like, completely forward and backwards, the bike is not moving that much. Like, let me just show you. I'm going to go down through here and I'm leaning forward and backwards, You can hear my controller here. We're going maximum forward and maximum backwards. So you can see kind of how the rider's not moving very much. See that right there? Rider's not moving very much. Bike's not moving very much. We're rocking this bitch forward and backwards, boys. Don't let me rock you to sleep, but... so then let's go to 5 and do a direct comparison with that forward and backward shit, right? Okay, here we are back in Supercross 5. I'm going to do that leaning and forward thing again here. It's like when you start doing that in this game, it's almost like you can't even hardly hold the bike on the track, you know? Let me try to do it on some jumps here. It's like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, really. It just seems like your leaning does more in this game than it does on 4. You know? It just, I don't know. But you can see how much slower the gameplay is here on 5. Like, I don't know why they chose to make it so much slower. It's like this game, the speed feeling of it, it's almost like even when you're wide ass open down a straightaway on a 450, it just doesn't really feel like you're actually going that fast. So it's I feel like there's a lot more, you got to have a certain speed feeling to any racing game, or it kind of starts to lose a little bit of that like dangerous feeling, or that like, holy shit, I'm hauling ass, let me try not to fly off of the track. You know, it kind of loses that feeling a little bit when you slow the gameplay down too much. Like if I would have been the developer here on Supercross 5, I would have straight up been like, nah, you got to speed the gameplay up a little bit. It's, you know, it's just a little bit too slow, especially compared to Supercross 4. It almost feels like, and what happens with that is when you slow the gameplay down in a sense, it almost feels like there's not as much difference between going slow and going fast. It all kind of just homogenizes itself in a sense, and then you just feel like you're kind of going the same speed over the whole track or on every track, you know? Whereas when you get a little bit of a faster feel, there's more of a separation between going slow and then going fast. But when you have a slower feel to a physics, it's almost like everything just feels like you're going slow. So that is a bit of an issue with Supercross 5's physics, or it's not even really physics, but it's the speed of the game, you know? It's just a little bit on that slower side, and it doesn't quite excite me as much. Now, when it comes to leaning and trying to get that particular triple in or whatever on a rhythm section from leaning a certain way, or a particular quad jump or whatever, that part of the game excites me more in Supercross 5 than it does in 4. Because like I say, in 4, it's as if that bike is just going to kind of naturally do its thing. There's less user input, I feel like, in 4 leaning wise than there is in 5. You know, the Supercross 5 feels like you're actually making more of an impact on your leaning, and it's actually affecting the bike more when you try to lean and huck and jump up over a triple in and shit like that, you know? So yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to. Everybody's got their own experiences and their own skill levels, and there's a lot of people's never even played a game like MXM or, you know, whatever. A lot of people's never really played a lot of Reflex or played MX bikes, or, you know, there's a plethora of different like experience levels in these games, and I think that's what really creates well, I prefer, you know, Supercross 2's physics, or I prefer, you know, whatever kind of game it is, you know what I mean? For me personally, like I say, it all comes back to that balance of like, you don't want it to feel restrictive in an arcade game because it's an arcade game. But at the same time, you don't want to go too far with that like freeness of it, to where then it starts to kind of kill the illusion of the realism of it. You know, there's that fine balance that I feel like Reflex captured perfectly, that fine balance of in between realism and arcadey type feel, but it's not a hybrid, like it's not a hybrid between a sim and an arcade game. it's just a advanced arcade motocross game physics feel. You know, that's what Reflex was. And so for me personally, anytime I get into an arcade dirt bike game that feels too restrictive, like Supercross 1, Supercross 2, MXGP 1 and 2, there's a plethora of different games out there that, MX vs. ATV, Supercross, you know, those are some of the games I would describe as too restrictive to the point of it feels like the game was made more for like a little 5-year-old casual kid than a bigger population of arcade dirt bike gaming fan base, right? And some of the games that I feel like were a little too loose, and then it kind of kills some of that realism, would have been like MX vs. ATV All Out. I don't know if we've ever really had a milestone game yet that I feel like felt like it was too loose. You know, I don't think we've gotten to that point with any kind of milestone game yet. I feel like they're trying to work themselves up to a certain looseness with Supercross 5, but I certainly don't feel like they've went too loose or, oh my God, now it's unrealistic and floaty or something like that. I just don't feel like that. So either way, that's my overall opinion on it. The terrain deformation, very similar in both of the games. You know, your, like, the way you set the bike up and all that kind of stuff, very similar in both of the games. Your settings kind of things are very similar in both of the games, but as far as just physics in itself, I think 5 is more of a looser but slower feeling, whereas 4 is more of a heavier, you know, tankier, harder to move the bike, kind of sluggier type feeling, but it is a faster feeling and slightly more of a popping off kind of feeling when you come up short on something in 4 versus 5. You know, I certainly think they need to have more of a pop-off system with 5 and a little bit more of a speed feeling to the physics of 5. But either way, man, that's about the best way I know how to explain the physics system of both these games. You know, some of them are going to, you know, like 4 is going to appeal to certain people over 5, and 5 is going to appeal to certain people over 4. It's just kind of it's just one of those things, you know what I mean? But for me personally, I think 5 really does outweigh, like, the benefits of Supercross 5 physics, I feel like outweigh the, you know, the better things that 4 had. Like I'm saying, the more speed feeling and the little bit more pop-off system, I feel like the things that are better about 5 as far as more leaning forward and backwards and, like I say, more inertia, more of a loose feeling to it, I feel like that outweighs the benefits of 4, right? So at the end of the day, I personally prefer the physics of 5 for an arcade dirt bike game than I do 4, right? So anyways, that's where I'm at with it. And yeah, graphics, it's so hard to explain the graphical difference because, like, sometimes I'm like, what the fuck, Supercross 5's like worse graphics than 4, and then other times I'm like, I get to looking at it and I'm like, well, 5 kind of is better in a certain way than 4 graphically. I don't know. I keep going back and forth with the graphics of 5 and with all the bugs that they had with the PC version of the graphics on 5. And then they've now apparently updated that a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of all over the place with that. But either way, boys, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Be sure you got all notification bells hit for the channel. We're going to keep these videos popping off. Going to try to get back into doing some live streaming again. Just been working on a bunch of stuff here. But yeah, dogs, nonetheless, that is pretty much your differences between Supercross 4 and 5. I certainly think, I mean, they're obviously similar in a lot of ways, but I really do feel like 5 is different enough to give you a real different experience than you had in 4. Like, it's enough of a difference to the physics where this does feel like a different physics feeling, you know, a different physics, you know, system. They're obviously similar. It ain't like going from fucking, you know, Untamed to Reflex or whatever. It ain't that big of a jump, but it's definitely bigger of a jump physics feeling wise than I feel like some of the other Milestone games are, for sure, but like always with Milestone, it's kind of you got to look at it in a sense of they make the games every year, so you really can't even expect as much of a change as you would have got like going from Untamed or like from Unleashed to Untamed to Reflex. That's just a whole different caliber of changing, physics-wise. But for Milestone, I do think this is a decent physics improvement going from 4 to 5. But I do wish it had more of a speed feeling to it, and I also do wish it had more of a pop-off feeling to it. But other than that, everything else I do feel like is just straight up better than 4. So, nonetheless, either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.